How can you find hidden cameras in your home, in your apartment, in your car, in your place of work? Let's dive into that subject right now. First, let's talk about hidden cameras. There are a lot of potential hidden cameras out there. They are disguised as clock radios. They are disguised as smoke detectors. They are disguised as plants, as light bulbs, as knickknacks, as just about anything you can imagine. But not only can they be disguised as that, they can be as simple as what we call camera-enabled devices. Things like computers, laptops, tablets, phones. These can all be used as hidden cameras. Yep, that's right. Your laptop, your tablet, your phone that you're holding right now could have software or malware or something on it that is helping somebody spy on you. Now, that's not as likely as somebody putting a hidden camera in your home or in your apartment or in an Airbnb or your office or something like that, but it is possible. Now, some of the more common places that people will hide cameras are behind objects, around artwork, around other decorative items, even in books or around books. A lot of times they're going to try to find a dark area where they can stick a camera back behind. We have found them on top of cupboards. We have found them underneath cupboards. We have found them underneath chairs, underneath desks, just about everywhere. And kind of a common one that's out there is hidden cameras that are in electrical outlets or switches. And they're not necessarily in the electrical outlet or the switch, but they are the electrical outlet or the switch. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. There are things that you can actually take the cover off of your electrical outlet, put this on, and it's then going to be powered by your house electricity. Now, those take some specialized work to be able to make sure that they work properly and they function properly and things like that. But I have seen some that just stick onto a wall. They look like an outlet. They're not a functioning outlet. These are very common in places like hotel rooms, Airbnbs. Those are very common to be used in hallways or offices, things like that. Because you just stick it on the wall, it looks like a normal outlet, and unless somebody goes there and tries to plug something in, well, they're not going to know that it's not an outlet. Or even if they do, they just can't get their plug in to plug into it. They assume something's wrong and they'll just move over to another one. Probably the most common that we see, though, are going to be things like smoke detectors and clock radios, things like that. Even pens. You can get pens that have cameras in them, so they can just be laying on top of a fire mantle or a desk or a table anywhere. Under furniture, a lot of times they'll be used with double-sided tape or something and stuck up under a table or under a chair or under a cupboard, something like that. Then there's hidden audio recorders. Now, the placement of hidden audio recorders, they can go any place where that video recorder can go. But they can also go in a lot of places that that video camera cannot necessarily go if they're trying to get video. Now, a hidden video recorder, though, can usually be used as an audio recorder too. So if the person deploying it isn't really worried about getting the video, they just want to hear what's going on, they might have a hidden camera somewhere versus a hidden audio recorder. But when you're hiding those audio recorders, you've got more choices because now they can be behind things. They're not shooting video, so they could be behind a book. They could be behind a piece of furniture. They could be in a seat cushion, just about anywhere. Bluetooth-enabled devices is one we're starting to see a lot more usage of. Smart speakers, different things like that. If it has recording capabilities, and if somebody had access to that, they may have been able to tie into that with their phone, with their laptop, with their computer, and now they can sit remotely and just listen to everything that's going on through that smart speaker of yours. Smartphones and other mobile devices, even just plain flip phones, are used often for audio recorders too. We had a case one time not too long ago where it was a financial company where we found a burner phone that was sitting inside a desk drawer of an ex-executive. Now the battery was dead by the time we found it, but when we did some research we found out that while that little burner phone, because it was just a cheap little flip phone, it wasn't a smartphone, it could have talk time of up to 3 days. So what we believe happened when that executive was separated from the company, they had got this phone, they came to clear out their desk, they placed it in there, probably called another burner phone. In fact, we know they called another burner phone. We were able to subpoena the records eventually on that phone, but they called this other burner phone and they were able to, for 3 days, to sit and listen to everything going on. And that ex-executive's office was right outside the president's office, as well right outside of the main conference room. Again, common hiding spots are anywhere, just about anywhere, even under furniture, under rugs. I have seen audio recorders that are pens, audio recorders that are keychains. I have seen audio recorders that are earrings. So you could set those earrings on a bathroom counter for the master bedroom and it'll pick up all the audio there. Sure, the smaller it is, the smaller the battery, it's not going to run as long. But once they have the intel, once they have the information they need, they don't care if it's working anymore. A lot of people that call us get worried that there's something inside a wall, or inside their baseboards, or up in the attic or something like that. And while that is possible, it's not really practical, because usually, especially when it comes to audio, well, video too have a lot of restrictions in those areas, but when it comes to audio, you aren't going to get very clear audio. So unless you have some means to do a lot of advancement as you're listening to it, it's not going to do a whole lot of good. Now let's talk about trackers on a vehicle. Most commonly is a GPS tracker. There are what we call wired trackers and wireless trackers. Now a wired tracker is going to be something that's plugged like directly into a fuse block or something like that. It's going to be tapped into a hot wire because it needs power. A very common type of wired tracker though has no wires attached to the automobile. What it is it's called an OBD2 or an onboard diagnostic 2 plug-in. So it plugs into your OBD2 port where your mechanic would plug in the computer to get all the codes and all the information out of your car. Well, these can plug right into there and then they use the power off of that to be able to power the device. So when the car's turned off, they're turned off all the time. When the guy starts his car, now it's tracking from that moment on. Wireless trackers come in a wide variety of things too. Obviously there's GPS, that's the most common, or what people think are the most common. But there's Apple AirTags, there's tile trackers, but you can also just use things like smartwatches, smartphones, or even not so smartphones, apps on a phone, anything like that that has tracking capability could be used to track you. It doesn't have to be GPS. So where do you look for these tracking devices? Similar to looking for a hidden audio recorder or a hidden video camera in your house or your apartment or something like that, you're going to look everywhere. Again, the OBD2, onboard diagnostic 2 port, right up under, usually right up under the steering wheel. You're going to look there and make sure nothing's plugged in there. Now there are some that'll plug in there and then they have the other plug on the other end, so if somebody needs to plug in the computer, they can do that too, so they're fully disguised. Where you're usually going to find a lot of those smaller ones like Apple AirTags, tile trackers, things like that, are going to be under floor mats, under the seats, in little cubbies, anywhere like that. A big one with GPS trackers, because most have a magnet on them or a magnetic box you can get, is up under the bottom of the seat. Almost all front seats of cars today have some kind of metal on the bottom. So you can just get up under there, pop it up there in a matter of seconds, and there it is, and nobody's ever going to see it. If you look under the seat, you're not going to see it. You're going to have to feel around and get a mirror up under there and look and see if you see one. Outside of the car, you want to look in wheel wells. A common thing is with that double-sided super sticky tape. You stick one of those, again, to one of those little tile trackers or an Apple AirTag. You clean off a little spot on the wheel well and you can stick that right to that and you're now tracking the car. Now those aren't as accurate as a GPS, but the technology is getting pretty darn close. Up under the car is very common to be able to put one of those magnetic GPS units that are in a big box. Usually if somebody wants a long-term GPS tracker device, they're going to get that. They're going to be a black box, probably about yay big, and it's going to have a magnet. They're going to get up under and they're going to find a part on the frame where they're going to stick that to. Probably the most common place we have found GPS trackers and other types of trackers are the rear storage compartments. Back where your jack goes or where your spare tire goes. There's so many little cubbies back there, and that's where we'll usually find them because most people never go there. They don't even know how to go there. They can easily pop one of them open and drop something down. So how do you find these things on your car? First, you want to start off with a visual inspection. But you want to take everything out of your car. Get everything out. Clean it out. Vacuum it out. You don't want to be going through a bunch of junk and a bunch of stuff and a bunch of trash. Clean out that console. Clean out that glove box. Every one of those little cubbies, get everything out. As you're taking it out, you can be inspecting it. Is it something you recognize? If it's not, get rid of it. Then you're going to go through and you're going to visually inspect it. Now you can take any of these small little trackers, you can get some of that double-sided tape and you can stick it just about anywhere inside a vehicle. The best way to do it is you get some kind of a mirror. You don't want a little bitty tiny mirror, you want something fairly big, a little bit convex, but you're going to be able to get it in places. And you can take a little flashlight and you can shine it on that mirror or shine it in other areas that are going to shine light up into where you're looking. You also want to have gloves. Have some good mechanics gloves is what I recommend because they're tight enough on your hands that you can feel things still and you can grab things. Now don't go grabbing things and ripping them off. You want to be careful. You don't want to break your car. Now if you see something, let's say you see something underneath one seat, you might want to look underneath the other seat and see if there's something similar. A lot of times just the electronic devices in a car can look suspicious. If it looks like it's hardwired into the harness of the vehicle, then it's probably something that belongs there. Don't go disconnecting things. If you're really suspicious about something like that, then take it to your local garage, your mechanic, or the dealership, and have them take a look and tell you if that belongs there. Now, some of the best practices for conducting a bug sweep, and this is one of the things that we do in my company, is we divide all of our areas into sections so we can do a very methodical search. Now I walk into a room and you do the same with your car. You look at your front passenger side, your front driver's side. I divide everything into sections. So I'll walk into a room and I will start going clockwise through the room from the door all the way around. And I'll start looking up and looking down, and then at the space I'm in looking left and right and scanning back and forth. Then I move over a little and I do the exact same thing, looking at everything. But before I do that, I do what is a full visual of the space. So I'll sit in the middle and I'll really take a long, hard look, and I'm looking for holes in the walls. I'm looking for cracks in some area where something might have been tucked into, anything like that. So then when I'm doing my visual, then I know that when I get over there, I need to look at this specific area. And probably a huge thing is to make sure you have no distractions while you're doing this. Don't go in there with your cell phone. Don't go in there with your laptop. Make sure that there's no distractions. Nothing's going to bother you that's going to take you off of task. Because once you start, you want to be able to complete. You don't want to have to leave the room or get out of the vehicle and go talk on the phone for 20 minutes and then come back and wonder where you were. And don't let anybody else in the space while you're doing your bug sweep. You want to make sure that it stays clean. You don't want somebody to come in and introduce something after you've already cleared that area. And document everything. I always start off with photographs of the space that I'm working in first. Then if I find anything, I can take pictures of it and I can make notes of it. I want to document everything that I find. And if you're not sure, then consider hiring a professional TSCM expert to do everything for you. I know it gets expensive, but if the threat is real, then the investment may be worth it. Now, what do you do after your sweep? Or if you find anything during your sweep? That's a big concern for a lot of people. I always recommend if you find something, then contact law enforcement or an attorney to help you decide on what to do. In fact, that's what we tell our clients. We tell them because, well, it's a fact, we cannot take physical evidence into custody. We're not law enforcement. So if we find anything, we're going to recommend to them to then contact law enforcement or contact an attorney to help get legal advice as to how to proceed. We don't necessarily have the means to be able to track where that device came from. We can't take fingerprints. We don't have subpoena power to figure out who purchased it, when they purchased it, and where they purchased it, but the police will often have that ability. Now, if you are thinking about becoming a bug sweep professional, if you're thinking about getting involved in the TSCM world, then I want you to check out this video about a piece of equipment that is perfect for the entry-level TSCM private investigator.